So you have a business and maybe it's been run through Facebook. Maybe you've recently got involved in Google My Business. But how can you use the power of Facebook and Google My Business so that it grows your business in the coming months and weeks ahead? Well, this video has been made exactly for you. So maybe you run a Facebook business and you need to get a boost through Google or Google My Business. Well, secondly, it could be that you've already got your business on Google Maps. You've already gone through the process of registering Google My Business. And now you've heard that Facebook is actually being taken as a serious boost to Google My Business. So you may want to get your Facebook combined with your Google My Business listing. Or it could just be down to a combination of both things, that you just want the two to work seamlessly together so that you maximise and boost your business as far as all the search engines are concerned. Well, this video is going to really help you today. So you want to add your Facebook profile. You want to combine that with Google My Business. Facebook business page has tremendous power in Google. Obviously, Google My Business has tremendous power too. But combining the two together is really going to make quite a difference to your business. And that's what we're really going to look at today. Several ways in which you can do this. And I just want to illustrate it first of all by just first of all showing that, of course, if you have a business page, it is slightly different to a standard Facebook page. It lends itself to offers, a shop, appointments and so on. So it's certainly worth setting up a business page if you haven't done so already on Facebook. And of course, Google My Business in the back end here, again, you have a lot of information here about products and photos. And if you've seen any of my videos in the past, then you'll be familiar with how this works. But what I'm trying to do is combine the power of Google My Business with the power of Facebook. And to illustrate it, I just want to show that if you look at this, this is a Tupperware toy that 2 or 3 year olds have. And it's very simple that all you do is you look at the shape, you put attention or focus on the shape first of all, and then you then look at what you have, and then you find the right shape and then you put it into here. Now it's pretty simple stuff. Here's a square, so we find a square. Here's a circle, we find the circle. And we gradually fill in the shapes until they've all gone into the ball. Now I know this sounds simple, but that's exactly what we're really going to try and focus on doing here, is that we look at, for example, the information. So if I go to information, and the information here, so for instance the categories here, well, they should relate to the categories in our Facebook account. So if we look at what Facebook has us down for. So here's the categories: web designer, graphic designer, internet marketing service in my case. And if I go to here, you'll see they're different. And the challenge you've got is that sometimes the categories here aren't reflected in the categories here because they're limited on what you can go for. And there are also other things that aren't related. So for example, the business name itself should be related. So Zanet Design Limited, and that should be exactly the same. And this is the key, is we're wanting to try and get Facebook the same shape as Google My Business, and Google My Business as the same shape as Facebook. And if you challenge it that way, if you think of it in terms of the right shapes fitting the right holes, then hopefully you'll see the reason why this is a really powerful video to help you. So things like the address, the service area, the times, the hours, all these things need to be identical on both as far as possible. So if I go to contact, the number should be the same, the email should be the same, location, it should be exactly the same, the hours should be identical. And that's really the first thing you need to do, is just go through all this information under page info and make sure that all of these things are exactly the same. Now once you've done that, here's a couple of little things. I noticed that here you've got 200 and I think it's just 255 characters. With Google My Business you've got something like 700 characters. But we do know that when you write your description here, so that's the description hole and there's the description hole, so that's the two, that again these should be the same. And in my case I've not updated one for the other, so I'm just going to check that. Now with Google you get 750, but they still say that the first 250 words are the most important. So I'm going to take those first few words there, which I've heavily optimized with keywords. I'm going to make sure that that's now reflective, and of course then I'll need to just round it off nicely at the end so it fits. So there you go, that fits in. So you can't really copy and paste it in identically, but what you can do is when you get to the point where you think you might have been running out of characters, what I'm going to do is just see how many more characters I've got. Okay, so that's what I've got to fill. So I've got 13 characters left. There you go. So it's important to use up as many characters as you can. It's important to get these categories the same. I'm now also going to make sure that I save that, so that hopefully that's been saved. Very good. And that really combines that. So that's the first thing you can do, is just to go through all of the things you've got on Facebook and make sure that they manage up the same as your Google My Business. And I'd put Google My Business as a priority if you have differences, because Google at the end of the day is going to reward you for having the similarities or identical information. So here's the next thing. Are you creating posts on Facebook? So say you're into Facebook and you create posts. Well, why not create these posts now on Google My Business too? So it's quite easy really. You can just literally copy and paste whatever it is that you're using. You could also right click this image and save it locally. And then if you go to Google My Business and then you just go into posts, and here you'll see you can just then add by clicking on here. And in this case, it's a what's new. And then you then upload that photo, you copy and paste your information, and then if you want to, you can then either have a call now button or learn more. Learn more you could then have as a link through to your Facebook page. So if we go back to your Facebook page, so it could be just a case of you want them to link through to this, so you can do that. You can also link it through to your website, which I've done here. So I've written an article on my website and I could use that as the reason for linking through as well. So really how you set up your post on Google My Business is fine. If it's identical, it's probably not ideal. So you might want to just change a few keywords and make a few changes to the image. But the point is when you upload an article to Facebook, upload the same article with the same image and just get it so it's seen on Google My Business too, and vice versa if you do ones on Google. So I've done it here on Google My Business, and then I've instigated to go across here, as you can see, on Facebook. Now there is, and this is a real bonus tip here, and I've covered this before in one of my previous videos, but I can really say this is so helpful. It's called Publer. I'll put the link down below, and here you can write an article and then you can upload an image, and then you can then just click whichever social media platforms you use. So I've got LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Google My Business, and then when you create it, you can then also schedule it in the calendar, and then you can then click post once it's scheduled, and that means that every day, if you wanted, you could have a article going out to all your social media areas, and it does it in a very user-friendly process. In fact, it does it really easily, and I use this. So again, it's not something like I'm just talking about, but something I actually use on a regular basis too. So I definitely recommend use Publer. I'll put the link down below. And of course, if you do have several posts that you've written, you have a website as well, then of course you can embed this into your website too. So if I click on here, I can go embed, and then it brings up this post here, and I can then embed that into either my Google My Business, but more likely it's going to work on something like a website. So you want to include it and do it that way. But that's, again, there's the URL of the post. So going back to Google My Business, if you wanted to, when we set up a new one here and we wrote the information, if you want to learn more and you want them to go through to your Facebook page, then all you need to do is just copy that and put it into your link button here. And what that will then do is that then makes it so that when they read an article and they click on learn more, rather than going through to your website, it can go through to your
page here, which is your Facebook page. And what you're doing in effect is you're building up link juice between Google My Business. You're linking through from Google My Business, and you're then putting it through to your Facebook page. So that might be something you'd rather do, or you can do it the other way around. In Facebook, you may want to be able to link through to your Google My Business page. But again, this interlinking is going to just help build your brand. It also unifies the power of Facebook, the power of Google My Business, and linking together in this way is going to produce greater power over time. But there is another way you can do this, and you can automate it. We mentioned Publer, but also have you considered looking at Zapier? So with Zapier, this is an interesting piece of software. There's a certain amount that's free, so you don't have to you don't have to pay for this initially. You can have 100 tasks per month for free, so that's incredibly generous of them. And what this does is it just automates things. So you go through to Zapier and you basically just find Facebook first of all. So if I type in Facebook, and that should come up, and you can choose what it is that you want when it comes to Facebook. So let's just say, for instance, Facebook pages. And then some general ones come up, but you notice there's 283 ways of making a Facebook page automate something. Now we want it to do something with Google My Business. Let's just type in and see if there's anything there available on Google My Business. And so it's suggesting you can create a Facebook page post from a new Google My Business review. So that's one of the ones it offers. And I think that's kind of a similar one there as well. So that's interesting, but also you've got a certain control here. So it might not be a case of you want recommendations from, so you get a new recommendation from Facebook. And what does it do? It creates a reply in Google My Business. Or let's try that. Create a page photo, and that comes from, say, a new review in, so that's a new review in Google My Business. You get a new review in Google My Business, and it creates a, so I think with these types of things, to create a page photo in Facebook pages when a new review in Google My Business. Now, these, once you've integrated your Facebook and your API from Google My Business and Facebook, basically you can do all these different combinations, and there's no end to what types of zaps you can produce. But what this does, it just automates the process. So if you, for instance, wanted to automatically post on Facebook every time you got a 5-star review from Google My Business, then that would be something to try. So really there's no end to what you can do, and if you can't do it, then someone else may have done it. So it's worth just browsing through some of the things that can automate the process for you. So you may find this really quite helpful if you come up with ideas and things you want to try between Google My Business and the power of Facebook. But what about with Facebook, linking it through to Google My Business and YouTube? We've often spoken about how do you get Google My Business to list your social media. And you may recall that in the past I had this video that I released, which again I'll put a link down below, where you can add your social media to your Google My Business. So if you're trying to get Google My Business to appear, then this is the video for you that will show you how you can really help Google to track your social media, and then more likely it'll put it into your Facebook, it'll put your Facebook links, your LinkedIn, your YouTube, it'll appear then within Google My Business knowledge panel. And also with that, again, I've got this other video that goes into a bit more detail about how you can just Facebook and Google My Business link together when it comes to links and interchange. So it's a bit like what we've looked at, but this is perhaps just a bit more of an overview, whereas we're looking at a bit more detail at the moment on how to do that. So just to explain what I'm talking about, if you go to Google, if you Google your own company, you'll see here you've got profiles for Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. Sometimes you get YouTube, or you can get others as well. So you notice here that you can get reviews on Facebook. So maybe you've got some reviews. People, when they review them, then it's important to reply to them, a bit like with Google My Business, which I've not actually done here, so I need to do that at some point. And also you can share your feedback, so you can ask others to give you some feedback if you want to. Now this again is very similar to what Google My Business has been doing. So if I go to Google My Business, if I go to the home page, you'll notice there they're encouraging to get reviews. And when you get reviews, of course, then they appear here. And what have I said in all my previous videos is make sure you reply, use keywords when you reply, and obviously that then affects your ranking to some degree based on the feedback you're getting. So if we go back to this is very different because they don't give you a score, but if it's positive, it kind of builds up. As long as they've got a reasonable amount of authority in Facebook, then it kind of rates it. So Facebook actually comes up with this ranking mechanism. Now I've got 5 out of 5 here, but you'll notice if I go to... Okay, so it's actually appeared to have disappeared now, but you used to get a ranking of Facebook on here. And again, the reason why you'll find that if you watch videos, suddenly you find, well, why is that not there anymore? Google changes things constantly. So if you see something in one of my videos and it's no longer there, then that's the reason for it, is Google does change things all the time. Let me just try one other thing then. So now even on Google Maps, it appears that at the moment Google isn't showing the Facebook reviews. But what I will say is if you can get Facebook reviews, if you can get 5 out of 5, then it will show. Probably in your area it will show at the moment. It's just, again, experiments continue to go on. And just when you think things are where they are, then Google changes things. Now also, if you're a business, you no doubt have done offers as well on your Facebook. So if you've got an offer, for example, I had an offer here which is expired now, but if you've got an offer here, in a similar way to producing that offer, like a post, you might transpose a post over to Google My Business. Well, there's an area as well that's takes offers, so all you need to do is set up your offer again or rerun it on Facebook, and then go over to Google My Business, and if you go to posts, and there if you click on offers, you'll see some previous offers that I've had here, and you want to reflect them on both if you can. So add an offer, and then you just fill out the same details. It runs at a certain time, you can have a percentage and so on. So that information there should reflect the information that we've just seen on Facebook, which is here. And again, if you can get the two to create an offer, that's going to be more powerful over time. So just one further thing as well, you notice on info on Google My Business, you can accept appointments and you can add an appointment link. And this then produces a button, or it produces a bit more information on your knowledge panel. So for example, you can have a request a quote, or in this case, I can accept online appointments, I give on-site services. And if you wanted to just make sure that you combine the two, then you can just go to appointments. So if you go to your Facebook page, your business page, /appointments, and there on appointments on the left hand side, you'll see you've got your calendar. You can promote this, but also just by using that address, you can send people through from their Google My Business, so they can then come through from your Google My Business presence into your calendar on Facebook, and that way you're running all your appointments through one particular area. So that's a free and a really useful little tutorial tip there for you to combine the two, if that's something that you find useful and you use Facebook for your business. Now there are a couple of other things you may want to do. If I do a search on Google for how to add Facebook page to Google My Business, there are 2 of these videos then that I've done beforehand. This one shows you how to link and some simple tips to get these links working. So you might just see how I actually do that in that video. And the second one is how to encourage social links. So that's more a case of making sure that these links here appear. So if you're after the profile links as well, then there's several things you can do to encourage that. So look out for those 2 videos. That's that one there and that one there, and I'll put a link below for you on those.